if you can also just in the chat let me know what time you guys are writing tomorrow, that will also be great. But let's start with some examples, and then yeah, we can work through the examples. Also, I will afterwards again share the recordings and those kind of things, that you guys have it, um, so that you have it in time for tomorrow as well. Okay, so if you can just let me know what time you're writing tomorrow in the chat, that will be great. But let's start. Okay, so it's an early morning slot. Okay. Okay, so again, some questions that was shared with me. So let's go into this one from study unit 11. So we get some X and Y numbers, and then we've got the, like yesterday, B0, B1, and then they ask us the correct statement again. So again, I think yesterday we had one that was correct, we had one that was incorrect. So always good just to again look at, so correct one, and then if we quickly write that down, it is, that is B0 is the y-intercept. So we have 2112.8 plus 0.67x. And we are looking for the correct one. The relationship between quantities and annual sales appeared to be linear and negative. Okay, so it's positive, so not negative, so that is incorrect. The regression line is, those two should be swapped around, so that is incorrect. Let's just then look at, first, before we work out anything, the ones that we can read off, maybe the line. So when B1 is positive, i.e. 0.67 sales increases as units sold decreases. Okay, so that will increase. So that will increase. So that is also wrong. So now we need to go and work out. So the predicted annual sales figure, if 600 units are sold, so then we'll put 600 in the place of X. So calculator, so 600 times 0.67, which is 402. And then if we add 2112.8 to that, we get that it will be 2514.8. 2514.8. So that is the correct one. And let's just see if 940 units are sold. Okay, so that will just go up, so it will be much more than that. But let's quickly just check it out. If it's 940, then our answer will be, so 940 times 0.67 gives you 629.8, and that plus 2112.8 gives as 2742.6. Okay, so that is what that one should be. So this one, again, just working with the information, writing out the formula with those two, we were able to identify which one is correct. So once again, just be very careful around the correct and incorrect one, because they also love to ask one question correct and then the next one incorrect, and then one makes a mistake by thinking they want the incorrect one. Okay, so the next question follows up on that first question 24. So we refer to the question and now identify the incorrect one. So there's a positive relationship between quantity sold and annual sales. That is correct. Because that is positive, there needs to be a positive relationship. Then correlation coefficient, coefficient of determination. So those two we need to check. So let's first work with what we else have. Only 63.94% of the change in sales is determined. Okay, so these two should be the same, because that does say the same thing. So coefficient of determination is also the thing that says to you what is that change in sales. So, and then let's just see, the regression coefficient B1 is also positive. Okay, so that we know is correct. Okay, so what I would do again is I will look at, if R is correct, then we can get a value of R squared. So let's test it. So 0.8 to the power of 2. So 0.8 times 0.8. If we multiply that by 100, we get 64%. Okay, so if a correlation coefficient is 0.8, we know that 64% is also correct. And so those two must then both be correct, because we're only looking for one incorrect one, which is then your coefficient of determination, because that should be the same as option 4. Okay, so this one is a bit tricky in the sense of looking at the options. If you did not use the data and put it into your calculator, you can then basically also work it out by eliminating the options. But always remember the R, the coefficient correlation, or correlation of coefficient, and for R square. So that I always look for. It's the same as if you get questions of, and it's not now in this one, but if you get questions of standard deviation and variance, you should always know that if there is a question that has the standard deviation in it and has the variance, you can always check if one of those two are incorrect, because there's always a direct link between the two. So the same with this one, you could identify the link between correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination. And because they gave you that third one, you know that those two need to be similar. So one of them are wrong. Then we know option 2 is correct. So because that is correct, we can determine what R square is. Okay, so let's jump to a question of chapter 5. So the first thing when we look at this is we first need to identify what is that gap. So what is that probability? So that will be 1 minus all of the other probabilities that we have. So 0.1 plus 0.2 plus 0.15 plus 0.05. Okay, so apparently then that is 0.5. That is quite a big probability, but that's fine. So then they ask us a few questions. So what is, and let me just go the route of different colors. So between and including 3 up until 0. So basically those 3 we're asking correct. So, or sorry, those 4. So it will basically be 1 minus the 0.05. So that should be 0.95. So we could have gotten it by saying 0.1 plus 0.2 plus 0.5 is already 0.8 plus 0.15 is 0.95. Okay, so that is if we have 3 including 3 up until 0 including 0. Then we look at between 4 and 1. So not including 4, and then bigger than 1, so not including 1. So then we only have 2 and 3. So that's 0.5 plus 0.15. So that is 0.65. Then we look at all the probabilities bigger than 0.2. Oh, sorry, all the probabilities bigger than 2. So bigger than 2. And I've read it wrong, bigger and equal to 2. So we're looking for all 3 of those. So it is 0.5 plus 0.15 plus 0.05. So that should be equal to 0.7. Okay, so unfortunately, none of those got to what we wanted. So now expected value is the x times the probability. So we will need to work that out. Let me just move this out a bit. So now we will say that times that plus that times that and continue. So 0 times that is 0. 1 times that is 0.2. Plus 2 times 0.5 is 1. Plus 3 times 0.15 is 0.45. And then I will just need to multiply on a calculator. 4 times 0.05 is 0.2. Okay, so let's add all of that together. So 0.2 plus 0.45 plus 1 plus 0.2 is equal to 1,85, which is that one. So that is correct. So again, we don't now even need to work out the variance. We know that is incorrect. If you wanted to work out the variance, it is going to be now a much longer process because it is 0 minus that to the power of 2 times the probability, and then you need to do it for all of them. So it is a bit longer. So that's why I will always work out these four first, because if that was also wrong, then 5 is my answer, and I also don't need to work out the variance. So it's much easier to work out options 1 to 4 than to work out the variance. So I will always nearly tend to work out everything except the variance, because again, to work it out, it is going to take you some time in the exam, and that is rather time that you could have spent on another question. So yeah, so please also just keep that in mind with your exam and the limited time that you guys have. Okay, so let's go into another one. So this was on probability, so study unit 4, and they tell us events A and B are mutually exclusive. So when it's mutually exclusive, the probability of A and B is equal to 0. Okay, so that is what mutually exclusive means. So already, if I look at probability of A and B is 0, so probability of A and B, that is, oh, and I'm looking for correct. So, okay, so already caught out. That is incorrect because that needs to be 0. If probability of B is 0,3, the probability of not B is 0,7, so not 0,6. Probability of A or B, so that is probability of A plus the probability of B. Okay, so this is, so there's the probability of A plus the probability of B, so it is 0,7 because your AND is 0. So that is correct. So let's just look at probability of A given B, probability of A and B, and the probability of A and B is 0. So probability of A and B is going to be 0 because the A and B is 0 because it's mutually exclusive. So that is incorrect. And again, it will be the same on this one. It will be 0. So the probability of B given A, the A and B is 0. So 0 divided by 0,4 is also 0. So those are the two ones that are incorrect. So very important in this one, because they said A and B are mutually exclusive, the AND is automatically 0. So then you don't need to still work it out with probability of A times probability of B. So that you don't need to do, because probability of A and B is 0. So that is how we then know that this is 3 is the correct one. 4 and 5, the given is also 0 because the A and B is 0. Okay, so you don't need to work out the A times B because it is given as 0. Okay, so let's look at another one. Let's crop this so we just focus on the question. Okay, so Shop Online advertises that 95% of its online orders shipped within 2 working days. You select a random sample of 100 orders over the past month to audit. The audit reveals that 91 of these orders are shipped on time. Assuming that this is a normal distribution, what is the probability that at least 90% of the orders in this sample will be shipped on time? Okay, so the probability at least, so now I need to think again, at least means you need to go from, say, at least 90%, so that's the minimum. So at least 90% or 91, 92, 93. So it is Z more than, so at least 90%. So that's the minimum it can be. So let's then look at its proportion. So it is divided by N. I think we've got all those information. Okay, so Z bigger Hmm. This is interesting. I thought those two would be the same, but it's not. What's the probability that at least 90% of the orders in the sample will be shipped on time? This is interesting. Let me just quickly. Hmm. Oh, I don't wonder if this was a error in the numbers used, or is it audit reveals that 91 of these orders were shipped? Assuming that this is a normal distribution, what's the probability that at least 90? I would have said then that is not right, because when it is negative, and if that is negative, and we're going to say bigger than none of those, I'm now worried that that should have said 95 or something different. What did you guys, if you would have done this, I'm really now worried between those three numbers, what to use. I would rather have said, sorry, 95. That does not. So what did you guys, what would you have used in this instance? Because if I work that out, just check one more. See, so that, if I do that, then my Z is going to be 0.9 minus 0.95. That's already negative. Okay, so then I'm looking at, so one of those can actually be, so I'm looking at minus 2,29. I'm looking at bigger, so that could actually work out. So let's just see if we get 2,29. If we get that smaller area, we can subtract, or we can look at the 2.29 for the bigger area. So let's quickly see 2,29. I'm still not happy with that calculation, but let's look at 2.29. 2.29, 0.989, 0.989, 0.989. So it is actually there. So is that one given to us to confuse us? Sheesh. Yeah, that's not cool. That is absolutely not cool. So even, let's just check if I said 0.91 minus 0.95. So if I set that to 0.91, then I got minus 1,83. Please don't give me now that 83, 9664. Okay, so that's at least not sheesh. Yo, okay, so that was basically added to to confuse us, because that was when I was like wondering why did they add that. So we're testing the 90 against the 95. Yo, okay, difficult one. This is really not the easy one. And then because it's negative, I originally thought that it should be then a smaller number, but when we work it out, we actually get that number. Sure. Okay. Not cool. That is really not a great one. And that like you guys have seen, that 91 has thrown me completely, because I thought that was now a mistake and they made a printing error. Yes. Okay. Not cool. Let's look at the next one. Here we're looking at a bit of critical values that we need to look at. All of it as is at least Z value. So let's look at the question. An agricultural researcher claims that the new breed of layer chickens lay an average of 750 eggs during the lifetime. An interested farmer wishes to test this claim at 10% significance level. Which one of the following statements is correct? Okay, so we basically are being asked to say if Z critical is equal to 1,645 and Z stat is minus 1,75, no, the null hypothesis is rejected. Do not reject the null hypothesis. The stat lies in the acceptance region. Okay, so let's just first draw that before we now start looking at the options. So then from study unit, what is it, 7, 8, where we looked at the hypothesis testing, study unit 9. Okay, so if we have, so let's just do this. If that is the t-stat, that is the critical value. Now we're also using negative, so let's just get that in here as well. So if the Z critical is minus 1,645, because that is what they have now everywhere, and the Z stat, so that's the T, is minus 1,75. Okay, so that is that value. So let's just write out. So if the T stat, and I always say the positive T stat because that's just easier, is bigger than the critical, we reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so let's write it as that. So the T stat is 1,75. The critical is 1,645. So we will reject the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is rejected. So that is correct. If Z critical and SMAT do not reject the null hypothesis, so that one is incorrect. The agricultural researcher claim is probably true. Well, we rejecting the null hypothesis. So that is then not true. If a Z critical and Z stat lies in the acceptance region. Okay, so no, not, it lies outside. That is the acceptance region. So let me just use a different color. The acceptance region is the blue component. The same if we looked at that one. So it's lying outside. So that's also incorrect. This is an example of an upper tail test. Now it's all happening here on the negative side. So that is also wrong. It's just easier to explain it in the positive side, but it's symmetrical. So it's definitely all in the negative. It's interesting. So because they use, and that just also for you guys is here they used everything negative. So that means we are sitting with a lower tail. If they said everything is like the Z critical plus minus, so the Z stat was plus minus 1,75, then it's important that we are actually then working with a two tail. So just be careful. So if I said the Z stat was positive, then we working with the upper tail. Negative is lower, and if it was plus minus, we're working with a two tail. So just again, be on the lookout for that one, that in the exam that they don't say plus minus and then use a upper or lower tail, because it is basically a two tail. Okay, so the things that you guys can look out for, if it is in the exam. Okay, then some of the other ones that was shared, so I'm just gonna do that. Let's see what is in this information. The time taken to complete a motorcycle race is normally distributed with an average time of that and a standard deviation of that. What is the probability that a randomly selected cyclist would take between 2.4 and 2.5 hours to complete the race? Okay, so basically what they want us to work out is that, and I'm just drawing it now, but we can reassess when we get the numbers between 2.4 and 2.5. So we need to get that probability. So if I look at that, then it will probably not be a big number, but let's work it out. So between 2.4 and 2.5, so we will need to make two calculations. So Z with 2.4 and then Z with 2.5. So 2.4 minus the mean is 2.5. Okay, 2.5 minus 2.5. That is going to be, I don't worry what this now is going to be underneath, because 2.5 minus 2.5 is 0. So let's just, I'm just going to write here, we've got our standard deviation divided by n, but this Z is going to be 0. So this is going to look a bit different. So it is actually going to be on the 0, and this one is then going to be the one that we work out. So it is going to be negative something. So 2.4 minus 2.5 divided by standard deviation of 0.5 divided by n. Okay, so this is still normally distributed. We don't have a sample, so that is basically what we need to work out. So we actually don't need to worry about the sample. So this is still study unit 6. So let's see, 2.4 minus 2.5 is minus 0.1. That divided by 0.5 is minus 0.2. So there's a bit of that. So I now want to know what is the area between minus 0.2 and 0. So what I will do is to get this value and then subtract it from 0.5, because we know that this whole area is 0.5. So I will go to the negative table of 0.2, because that is then what I'm getting. So 0.2, it's not going to be 0.2, 0.4207. It's interesting, it's not somewhere there. 0.4207. I thought it would be even there, but 0.5 minus 0.4207, it gives us 0.0793, which is option D. Okay, so I would have thought that they would give you that 0.4207 as well, but obviously not. But then that small area is 0.0793, which is option D. Okay, so let's go into very similar, but it asks us something different. So let's see what is the difference in this one. So the time taken to complete a motorcycle race is normally distributed. Average time. What is the probability that a randomly selected cyclist will take at least? So at least, so what's the probability that the cyclist will at least the 2.4? So we've now worked out this whole answer. So now we basically need to say, and let's just check, it was divided by 0.5. So what's the probability that Z is bigger than minus 0.2. So again, sorry. So let's say that was the 0. That was the 0 point minus 0.2. We got that area was, and now it is there or not. Okay, 0.4207. So this area was 0.4207. So now what we will need today to do is to say, for this area that's left, that's what we want to work out. So 1 minus 0.4207. So that will be 1 minus 0.4207 is 0.5793. Or we could have said from the previous one, we know this area is 0.0793. So we could have said 0.0793 plus 0.05 or 0.5. So that will also give us 0.5793. But again, I don't think you guys are allowed to go back to a previous question, so you probably would not have had that with you when you move on. But that is now the two ways that you can get to that. And interesting, once again, I would have thought that they might have said 0.4207 in one of the options, but again, not. Okay, so let's check the next one. Okay, so bit of probabilities, but also nearly between permutations and those kind of things maybe. So let's first read. A bag contains 3 red. So what I just normally is to write it down. 3 red, 2 blue. And when I say you are asked to select 2 marbles from a bag, a marble is selected from the bag and then set aside without replacement. A second marble is then selected from the bag. What is the probability that the 2 marbles selected will be of different colors? This is interesting. What's the probability that the 2 marbles selected will be of different colors? Quickly just this is interesting. So let me just write it. So let's say the first marble is drawn and it's blue. So the probability is 2 out of 5. And then the next one is red. So that's what they're asking, that it's different colors. The probability that it's red then is 3 out of 4. Okay, does that make sense at all? But if it was red first, it's 3 out of 5. Then one red is gone, and then another color needs to be blue. Then it is 2 out of 4. Okay, so what is the probability that the 2 marbles selected will be of different colors? That contains 3 red, 2 blue. Okay, so there's 5 marbles. If I selected the blue, the probability of blue is 0.4. Then if I select the next one, it is, and then I say that it's red, then it is 3/4, so that is 0.75. Okay, if it was red first, it's 0.6. Then if the next one must be a different color, then it is 0.5. This is now interesting. If somebody can share what was how you got to 0.6, that would be, what am I missing here? The bag contains 3 red, 2 blue marbles. You're asked to select 2 marbles from a bag. Marble is selected from a bag. I like that. The marble is selected from a bag and then set aside without replacement. A second marble is then selected from the bag. What is the probability that the 2 marbles selected will be of different colors? Sheesh, this is... Oh, where is my... Let's quickly ask on our other AI tool. Where is Copilot? Let's quickly see if I can ask. Now this is quite, that contains 3 red and 2 blue marbles. So you guys can let me show you. I'm typing it into Copilot. Let's see if, and I probably should not show you guys Copilot, but that is fine. One can use ChatGPT as well. You are asked to select 2 marbles. I would have multiplied, I would not have gotten to 0.6. So that's why marble is selected on the back and then set aside without placement. Second marble is then connected ability. Okay, let's see. Sheesh. Okay, so probability of selecting a red marble first and then blue. Okay, so we did work that out. The fraction of 3/5. 3/5, 2/4. Okay, so if we multiplied those two, we would have gotten 0.3. And then tell me if we multiply those to 0.4 times 0.75. Okay, we also get 0.3. And then that plus that gives us 0.6. Okay, I would not. Okay, so Copilot is quite nice in this one for us. So I've written down everything like we should, but I would not have now gone to add those. Okay, so basically what we should have done is, so we've done if blue was selected and then red, we got 0.3. The other way around, if red was selected and then blue, that is also 0.3. So 0.3 plus 0.3 gives us the 0.6. Okay, I would not have gone to say we need to add. So that's why I got stuck here, because I would have, that is where I would have ended, because both of them gave me 0.3. So I would have gone for that and not said that is one and that's the second and add the two. Okay, I would not have gone that way. So I definitely are with you on this one. I'm losing my marbles with this one, because yeah, I would not have said, I would have gone for 0.3 and not have gone for that and that to give us a 0.6. Okay, but again, going forward, a nice thing to use actually is Copilot in, and it's in all your Microsoft Office, so it's for free. You don't need to pay like some of the Chat GPT, and it also does give you nice the breakdown of the answer. So yeah, it is quite cool. Okay, so yeah, this one I would not have gone the route of saying the two plus one another. I would have stopped at the 0.3, because I would not have thought about putting those two together. Sure. Okay, so that was quite a difficult one. Okay, yeah, we've got probability table. So again, let's first see, is it probability? Yes, so not chi-square. Sometimes one can confuse it with that. So we're looking at male, female, and free service providers. So what's the probability of selecting a respondent who is male or who prefers MTN? Okay, so that is, what's the probability of male or MTN? So that is probability of male plus probability of MTN minus the probability of the AND. So let's quickly see. Probability of male is 200 divided by 400 plus the probability of MTN, 150 divided by 200. 150 divided by 400, sorry. And then minus the AND, so probability of male and MTN, so it is that 100. So let's just mark it like that. So minus 100 divided by 400. Okay, so that is 200 divided by 400 is 0.5 plus 150 divided by 400 is 0.375, and then that would be minus 0.25. So 0.5 plus 0.375 minus 0.25 is equal to 0.625, which is option D. Okay, so with this one, we need to work out the OR. So probability of male plus the probability of MTN minus the AND of male and MTN. So 200 divided by 400 plus 150 divided by 400 minus the AND, so that is 100 divided by 400. Okay, so that is how we would have worked out this probability. Okay, so let's see. This looks like or a binomial, or maybe, but let's first, before I know. It has been found that from experience that an average of 3 customers use the drive-through facility at a local fast food outlet in any given 20-minute period. What is the probability that no more than 2? So what's the probability that no more than 2? So no more than 2 feels like no more than 2, so 2 and less will use the drive-through facility in any random selected 20-minute period. So lambda equal to 3, and then we go to x small or equal to 2. So let's see, let's close that. lambda equal to 3. Where was that? So there is 3, and we set small o equal to 2. Okay, so 0.224 plus 0.1494 plus 0.0498. That gives us 0.4232, 0.4232. And so that is, so from that Poisson distribution, lambda equal to 3, small o equal to 2. So we can add those 3 probabilities, and then we will get the 0.4232. Okay, just be careful. There's the probability of x equal to 2. That is the probability of x bigger or equal to, okay, so that would be 3. So probability of x bigger than 2. So just there is some of those that is then, and that is probably, no, I'm not gonna guess. Okay. Next one. Okay, standard error that we need to work out. It's just crop. So this was study unit 7. So the ABC Bowling Club has found that 45% of its members attended school in the Pretoria area. A sample of 155 members is randomly selected. Okay, so the standard error of proportion is this formula. So we have 0.45 times 0.55 divided by 135, and the square root of that. So 0.45 times 0.55 is 0.2475 divided by 135 gives us 0.0018, but then I need to take the square root of that, and that is 0.0428. Okay, so just be careful again, that number below the square root is also in your option set, so just be careful that you don't pick that one before you do the square root. Okay. Okay, this is interesting with all that information. So they don't give us the data. So again, you would not have needed Excel in this one at all, but now we need to know a bit some of these answers. So let's see what they tell us. Random sample of 8, number of years, high school. The following information is given. Okay, so let's first look at the mean values. So x is 32, the sum. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. That's correct. The y is 528. That divided by 8. 528 divided by 8, 66. Okay, so unfortunately those two are correct. We're looking for the incorrect one. So it's not that one. Okay, if I'm looking at those two, that we need to work out. So and we need to work out that. So now we actually need that formula of how to work out B1 and B0. So we need to work out B1 and B0 with that information. So that was study unit 11, and you guys can see I can't remember those formulas. So that is also why it is open book. So again, you are allowed to use the information in the study guide and your textbook. So let's just quickly go to study unit 11. So this is PDF, but where we have the information. So let's just quickly, I'm just quickly doing that. Okay, so here we have it. So let's see. With B1, we can now work B1 out. So again, if we had Excel or not, we still needed to use this formula because we can't do it any other way. So B1 is, and we've got, there's the XY. So let's quickly work it out here. So it is N, which is the 8. So we're going to work out B1 up here. So that's N is 8. The sum of XI, there it is. So it is 2136. Then it is minus 1 over 8. So 1 over N. So that's 1 over 8. Sum of X is 32. The sum of Y is 528. And that we will need to divide by N, which is 8. The sum of xi, so there it is, so it is times 150. Then the sum of xi, so 32 to the power of 2. Okay, so there is the formula. We've substituted everything, so now let's just multiply out. So 8 times 2136. I'm first just going to write everything down. 17088. Then 1 divided by 8 times 32 times 528. That gives me minus 2112. I hope this works, but so if those two are right, those two must also be right. So it is nearly, or they are all wrong. Because we are looking for the incorrect one. So that must be right, that must be right, and that must be, in any case, right. So that is going to be our incorrect one, but let's just check. 150 times 8 is 1040, minus 32 times 32, 1024. So this is going to be a big number. So 17088 minus 2112. Very easy to somehow make a mistake in this, which I think I probably did. 1040 minus that 16. I can see that as being equal to 12. So I will just recheck this. 14976 divided by 16. Oh no, 936. So somewhere, let's just quickly check again. N sum of x, y, 2136 minus 1/8. Sum of x, sum of y. So let's just see if I could. 8 times 2136 is that. So that is also correct. So let's just then check n is 150. So 8 times 130 is 1040. And xi, and so that's the same. Xi is 132 times 32. So that is also right. Okay, so this is right. So what am I missing here? It's just why does that formula have it in, but not this one? So let's take that out. I'm now worried by that one has it in and not this one. So let's just say that should not be there. This is also not cool that you have, so 32 times 528. That gives me 16896. So this looks much better. So 17088 minus 16896, which is 192. 192 divided by 16 gives me 12. Which is correct. So then this formula, that one is wrong. What we need to work with is only this. Sure. So somewhere in that textbook, in the study guide, that was given, the other one was given wrong. Okay, so that is correct. Then this formula is also correct. So predicted mark obtained if an applicant studied French for 3 years. So let's check now. So if we set y is equal to 18 plus 12 times 3, that would have been 12 times 3 is 36 plus 18 is 54. So that is the incorrect, which make it then correct. So all of these other ones was correct. Okay, so use this formula. Again, bit frustrating that there was another one that was incorrect. But also look how without working this out, so we worked out this, so this was correct. Then I'm looking for the incorrect one. But if you look at this formula, that is B1, that is B0. So if one of those were wrong, then B is wrong and A is wrong, or B is wrong and D is wrong. So by giving us B0 and B1, they both need to be correct within that formula, so that that formula is also correct. And then if we put 42 into that formula, or not 42, the 3, we should get 54 and not 42. So that's why option C was the incorrect one. But I then also just made sure B1 is correct. So then we can use, and then you can also check, we've got the 4, we've got the 66, so we can put in the 66 here minus 12 times 4. So 66 minus 48 does give us 18, which is the B0. So you could have used this in any case to get to those two numbers. So they give you all the information to get to B18 or B018, B112. Then we have that formula as correct as well. So yeah, again, they do give us all that information. Okay, last one. And let's quickly see. So this one, actually, if I look at the information, you should actually work this out. So let's see if there's any information in here, or if we then need to. So a chocolate bar manufacturer is interested in trying to estimate how sales are influenced by the price of a product. To do this, the company randomly chooses 6 small cities and offers the chocolate bar at different prices. Using chocolate bar sales as the dependent variable, the company will conduct a simple linear regression. What percentage of the total variance in a chocolate bar is not explained by the prices in the regression model? Okay, so this one, we could not go without putting into your, so hopefully you guys, for this one, again, I don't think you will get something like this in the exam, but you now need to have, for this one, a calculator that allows you to put in X and Y. There's no other way of doing it except for the X and Y, because again, if we look at, let's just quickly see, if I look at that, you can probably use that formula as well. Okay, so you can actually, but I would not recommend that unless they give you the information. Because again, now you need to work out in any case, what is the sum of X times Y? So you would have needed to work that out. The sum of X, the sum of Y, divided by N. So again, if you now needed to work this out by this formula, and then remember this is R, so you need to get to R squared to work out what the total variation is. So yeah, my calculator is not equipped to do this. So what you need to do is to put that into your calculator. I know you guys are not allowed to use Excel, but what you would need to do in your calculator is put that as those 6 variables. So some calculators does that you need to put in the x's first. Some of it wants you to do the x and then the y number, and you need to put all of them then in. Again, I don't think you guys will get something like this in the exam, because this is not, it's not a quick one. So if you then needed to work it out that way, it's also you needed to say the x, y is that times that times that, then get the sum. So I'm just quickly going to see how we can get an answer for you. So it's a correlation of the two, but then also it's not just for correlation. We need to, okay. So that is r. So we need to get to r square. So it is that to the power of 2. Okay, so again, 0, there was the 0, the 8854, but it was negative. So let's just make this a bit bigger. And then if that is multiplied by 100, we get our, those. That's interesting. Why was that marked wrong? Yo, okay. So that is, look also there, not explained. Whew. Okay, so that was what was explained. I would have made the same mistake. That was what is explained. So the portion that is not explained is 1 minus that. I would have, in the exam, would have made exactly 100 minus. I would have made exactly the same mistake. Sure, that is now a way to catch you out totally. Okay, so that's now not percentage. Let's 21 comma, I would 21,61. Totally would not have done this in the exam. I would have done just like this one. I would have looked at this. I would have gone for total variation. I did not even read that component at all. So I would have put in my calculator those numbers. I would also have gotten to 78,39, and not reading that, not explained. That was what is explained. So this is the not explained. Shuch. I would not have done that. So I would have gotten this wrong in the exam as well. So we're not looking for the explained, we're looking for the not explained. That is the not explained. So that is 21,61. Sure. So it is not just that you need to look out for correct and incorrect. You also needed, in this one, needed to look out for those words. I would I've gotten this one totally wrong, because for me, I looked at this and I just read total variation to get to that. I have not read that, so it is 1 minus the r square. Sure. So important one. So make the mistake tonight and not tomorrow when you are writing the exam. Okay, guys, so that is it. Good luck for tomorrow. Really, good luck. Hope all goes well. I am gonna put the presentation